So the story goes that one night, while he was sleeping, Schwartz was visited by an angel in his dream. The angel said, "I've got good news and bad news for you, Schwartz." "New?" Schwartz replied. "The good news is that I can confirm there is baseball in heaven." "I'm so happy to hear this," said Schwartz. "I've been a Tiger fan, my whole Tigers fan, since I was a kid." "That's really nice," said the angel, "but the bad news is you're pitching next Thursday." This is a very, very Jewish joke. Typically, I use it at the outset of my class on death and dying in the Jewish tradition. Shameless plug, the class starts in November. Check the website and announcements for details. But tonight, as we begin our celebration and are able to once again relive the 80s, as we begin the year 5780, we get to relive the 80s. I thought I'd start out with a joke. The first one worked mediocre, the second one completely bombed. About time and mortality, and certainly that we can both make meaning and find ourselves in every day we have left on this earth. Baha'i holidays are very special. The pageantry and choreography give context to its holiness. The words of our mahzor and the accompanying musical arrangements are echoes for many of us of childhood. If we look close enough, we can see the face of God in those partners, children, grandchildren, and friends, and even in each other. Isn't a life of true meaning found within the feelings of joy, of being with those who make us smile and laugh and think and hope and love? There is a core phrase, a fundamental concept in Judaism. At this time of year, we reckon in 5 short words: Da lifnei mi ata omed, which roughly translates as "know before who you stand." These words are typically affixed to the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark, or placed somewhere on the bima as a way of reminding every person in the congregation that they stand or sit before God. The concept, Da lifnei mi ata omed, establishes a spiritual fixed point, an anchor for our feelings, a place to focus our intentions, and a reminder that God is watching us. This is my 25th year leading High Holy Day services, and I have meditated on this idea, Da lifnei mi ata omed, with some discomfort around the concept of an all-knowing and an all-powerful God who is watching me. So over the years, I have arrived at a place that feels more authentic by moving this idea from a spiritually coercive fixed point to a space where I know that I stand before you, the congregation. And since I know so many of you, and because I care deeply about you, and since it's Rosh Hashanah, I hope you won't mind if I begin our holy days together by making this a little bit personal. Tonight marks the 17th year as Rabbi of this historic and sacred congregation leading these High Holy Days. And again marks the 25th year since my ordination from rabbinic school. And perhaps most importantly, I turned 50 this last year. On many levels, these milestones do not mean much to me. I acknowledge them to you right now, so there's that. But the whole thing, the entire thing of numbers is just meaningless to me. As you may know, the past several years have been difficult and painful and turbulent for me. The loss of my mom, the end of a marriage, watching my children struggle, saying goodbye to many dear colleagues, friends at our congregation, but mostly experiencing the darkness inside other people who I thought I knew, who I thought were friends, has all just about stretched my emotional and spiritual bandwidth beyond its limits. Yet I've come to understand, as the psychologist and speaker Jordan Peterson states, life is suffering. Each one of us, in our own way, suffers and experiences pain. But this does not mean that our lives are not filled with meaning, especially when we acknowledge how grateful we are and blessed we are to those precious ones with whom we share our lives and our joyous occasions and our moments of wonder. Life's not all that bad, as it turns out, even when the world around us seems to be in chaos. So I want to spend just a moment tonight thanking you for enhancing my understanding and giving a renewed perspective of Da Lifnei Mi Ata Omed, know before whom you stand. Because one day you may think of these words to remind you why life is worth living, filled with beauty and awe and joy. I stand before so many of you who have taught me what it means to be resilient. I have watched so many of you recover from major illnesses, losses, despair, and anguish. I've seen so many of you spend weeks and months recovering from surgeries and cancer treatments, therapy, inpatient and outpatient therapy. And I have learned what it means to take the broken pieces of life and put them back together from you. And I am grateful. I have learned why I became a rabbi in the first place, over and again, and that has uplifted me. The moments at camp and religious school and preschool of seeing our youth group kids literally take the community over from us remind me of what it means to see the world through Jewish eyes. And these moments of seeing them and seeing it through their eyes is beyond transcendent. Through our kids, our students, our campers, I'm reminded of what fulfills my soul. And the cycle of my time with you has enabled me now, beginning last year and now really ramping up over the next couple years, to officiate at weddings for kids whose bar mitzvahs I officiated at. And I am thrilled. It makes life worth living. I have learned the true meaning of the idea of Zeh Haya Asa Adonai, Zeh Hayom Asa Adonai Nagila V'nismecha Bo, that God created the world for moments like this, when you have invited me to stand under the chuppah, to share in your children and your grandchildren becoming B'nai Mitzvah, and at your children and grandchildren's baby namings and Britei Milah, the great human encounter of love and commitment to our sacred tradition, moments of pure joy, snaps me out of any place that I am in and brings me into a moment where life is so rich and beautiful. I have learned why relationships matter. No relationship is perfect, but from our interactions and our arguments and our disputes, and most of all from the times that you have trusted me enough to be honest and direct with me, I am grateful in knowing that we get closer when we talk, when we argue, when we share, when we speak, and I like being closer. I am grateful knowing that the relationships we have created are foundational, and they are the foundation on which our congregation is built and always will be. I have learned from you how to open my heart Vulnerability does not come easy to many of us, including me. And it has taken me a long time. But the vulnerability so many of you have shared with me in your times of need and pain and sorrow, and even in asking me a question, how you doing? That vulnerability, that feeling of open-heartedness has enabled me to become more comfortable with my own vulnerability. And because you've allowed me into your lives, I know it is safe to be more open in both mind and spirit with you as well. I am most grateful because so many of you have taught me that I am important to you, that our relationships are not transactional, but rather deeply committed to building a Jewish community together of hope and aspiration. Last year, after Torah study, one of our regulars came up to me, put his arms on my shoulder, and looked at me and said, "Thank you. I know it was a tough year for you to be all alone. Thank you. It made me feel so important, so special, and loved. And I needed that. Yet, of greater consequence in all of this, I need to always acknowledge and want you to know that you are so very important to me as well, more than I can share in words. I think it's been a difficult time these past years for many of us. The darker chapters of our lives indeed exist among the pages that we had hoped to skip while reading the book of our lives. On Rosh Hashanah, we begin the process teshuvah. What if we were to begin our teshuvah by saying thank you, or telling someone how important they are, or saying, I know the world is chaotic right now, and that I have added to that chaos by distracting myself from the ones I care most about. I have fallen victim to the hypnotic power of evil speech, the inclination to do evil, rather than the inclination to do right. I should have turned the TV off. I should have not said something I knew not to be true. I should not have repeated false rumors and gossip about you or allowed it to happen. I should have told you that I loved you, not in the abstract, but in showing you that I loved you. And so many more things. That is teshuvah. Just changing those actions. The great psychologist Viktor Frankl teaches us to live life as if you were living already for the second time, and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you are about to act now. He calls this a maxim which invites each one of us, each person, to imagine first that the present is past, and second, that the past may yet be changed and amended. Such a precept confronts us with life's finiteness, as well as the finality of which we make out of both our lives and ourselves. Dali pnei miata omed. Let's all know before who you stand. My prayer tonight, as we enter the year 5780 and our time together, this prayer is that you will know in your hearts that to me, you are the you. Know how easy it has become. I know how easy it has become to be self-absorbed in the noise of my own life, that I have forgotten what it means sometimes to care for others and to love others and to let them know how I care and love them. And I know I'm good at it, but I have not been so good at it. During these coming days, I pray we can all take some time to reflect on that idea of knowing before who you stand, and reflect on the you before who you stand. to give our own thanks to those who may not always know and may not always feel that they fill our lives with meaning and with purpose. Just so we're clear, I stand before you. You bring meaning to my life. I am so very grateful to you for revealing the face of God to me. May the coming year enable us to see what is right in front of us, the ones who bring us joy, who make us crazy, and help us live. Shana Tova Metuka, a sweet and happy New Year to all of you.